Hi, this is Michael Waitze, and welcome back to the Thailand GameChanger. This podcast is focused on the driving forces behind the startup ecosystem in Thailand and Southeast Asia, produced by True Digital Park in conjunction with Michael Waitze Media. Today, I am joined by Smith Taweelerdniti, the Chief Executive Officer of Let's Plant Meat. Smith, Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a while. I've wanted to do this with you. How are you doing today?
Doing good. So I'm having the house quarantine today.
It looks like it's a nice house, though. At least there's a nice garden there.
So this is a nice thing where we have like the place at home, and then you can do work and then have a chat with a good friend like you.
I love it. I love it. Can you give our listeners a bit of your background and experience for context?
Sure. So I was born and raised in Bangkok. And I had industrial engineering background, my undergrad, and then I have a chance to do a work with IT consulting company called Accenture. And then through that, I have a chance to switch career. So I went on to pursue the MBA at University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. 2006, that's my class of graduation.
Nice. What was it like living in North Carolina, particularly after being born and raised in Bangkok?
Yeah, it's a totally like different. So like cityscape like Bangkok, and then you are in the, I don't say rural, but a very nice college town. You have like something that is the oldest public university in the state. So this is some like charisma and the atmosphere there that you see like when you watch the movie in the like something about like university, and then you live in that type of environment. I feel that.
Right. So the UNC campus, University of North Carolina campus, and the campus that I attended as well, just is like an archetypical Eastern classic. It looks like a university. Do you know what I mean? It couldn't be anything else, right?
Yeah. So it's like really classic, typical. You find it in the famous movie. You got that. You got basketball. You got football. You got everything inside that college life.
Right. You also lived in Texas as well, right?
Right. So after my graduation, I went on to work in the company called Dell.
Right.
In the headquarters in Texas. I want to pursue something like in the business, so I had a job in finance, and then doing that with Dell in Round Rock, Texas.
And was living in Texas really different than living in North Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, basically just different states and different culture. But I feel more or less like very relaxed as well. It's not like the city like Austin is some place where you can enjoy a little bit of city and a lot of like open area, outdoor barbecue, great barbecue.
I always think of Dell being in Austin, but I know I'm wrong, right? So Round Rock is not actually in a big city, right?
Round Rock is a city north of Austin, so you can call it the greater Austin area, and that is a perfect place.
Yeah, I've been to Austin, but obviously never been to Round Rock. I want to learn a little bit about what you learned at Accenture, right? Classic sort of consulting business, and then I want to learn a little bit about the different role you had at Dell and how you learned about real business there as well.
So one thing about Accenture, so you're doing like the IT consulting, you are the center between the business user, and programmers. Or you're trying to bring like the best of the breed software to implement to the business setting. So that's when Accenture comes in and try to bridge the requirement and then the design together to make sure that the customer realize the project, realize the benefit of having this software and to their business and integrate them to the system.
Right. And you were in North Carolina, just to get back to this for a second, for 2 years to do an MBA, right? And then you lived in Texas for how long?
3 more years.
So you're in the United States in total for 5 years in a row, right?
Correct.
Was there a little culture shock for you? I mean, I presume you travel as well, but was there a culture shock for you coming out of Thailand, going to school, and then living in Texas, of all places, for a total of 5 years, yeah?
I think when you go into university, so the environment is very welcoming. So you have like international classmates, you have program to set you in and set you up to familiarize yourself with the new life in the United States.
Right.
And that prepare quite easily for me to like go to work in the real work culture in the States.
Okay. And I always think that, look, you know this, I've lived in Asia for 30 years, and I always worried about going home because I thought if you're an open-minded person, when you go to a foreign country, whether it's in North Carolina to go to school or Texas to work at Dell, you expect things to be different, right? So you're open-minded and you're like, I'm going to go there. Yeah, it's going to be different, right?
Right. So you open up for a change. You want to see that. You don't want to see the new life, that kind of thing.
But my biggest question is, when you decide to come back to your home country, what is the reverse culture shock like? Like, what were some of the challenges of moving from Dell in Texas, which again is like archetypical America, right? It's like real America. And then moving back into your family business. Is your family business based in Chiang Mai?
Yeah, family business is based in Chiang Mai. So my father came here like 30 years ago. When you ask the question, would it so much change? Then yes, but it's changed for something that I long for example. Okay. So when you work at Dell, you work as like an international company, you work in a professional setting, you have colleagues, you have like the real product that out in the real world.
Right.
And if you come home, this is something like small business setting where not many people know your company products. But the fact that the role just changed, the position that was offered is not employee,
right,
but employer.
Right.
This is something something that you also long for, right? When you were in business school, you want to pursue that kind of role, and that is a chance for you to do that. And secondly, I was raised by my grandmother. When my dad moved to Chiang Mai, I was in Bangkok. I lived there, and my grandmother kind of raised me.
Nice.
So the fact that I came to visit home every year, and I saw her getting older, I long for a day to come back and try to meet, try to have to do the duty of a grandson.
I understand.
To my grandmom, this type of thing. This is something that I really cherish. So I think it's the right time, the right place, and the right moment that I came home.
And was it different living in Chiang Mai than it was living in Bangkok, obviously?
Oh yeah, different, much different. So I was thinking to myself, if I were to come back to Bangkok, I may not come.
Oh, right.
But for Chiang Mai, this is something like Austin, like very artsy, very outdoorsy, natural, and then you have a little bit of the city culture, a little bit, and then very international place. This is where I found very perfect place to live if you have like good job, good career, and then you can balance this lifestyle quite easily in Chiang Mai.
I always thought that if they can do South by Southwest in Austin, we should do North by Northeast in Chiang Mai.
Yeah, actually, I used to do that. I used to do a similar festival inspired by Southwest in Chiang Mai called Cnxp, Chiang Mai Experience, and want to do like the tech movies and then music together, this kind of a vibe. By being from Austin, so I try to bring that inspiration with me. It didn't stick.
We should definitely do it again. I love this idea. I love the fact that you and I both had the same idea. What did you take home from Accenture and Dell? So obviously Accenture here, but Dell in the United States. What did you take home that you could bring into the family business now, not as an employee, right, but as an employer?
Yeah. So this is like very, very strong foundation for my career. By being with Accenture, so you being in like very methodic.
Yeah,
like
very
you have
methodical.
The process, you work with the CEO, you work with very experienced senior manager. That one shaped the view of leader for me.
Okay.
I have like a lot of manager that I aspire to be. This is so nice person. This is somebody who work so hard and also so kind, so caring for the team. This is something that without that kind of leadership role model, I would not know where to find it.
Got it. So let's get into detail about Niti Foods itself.
Yeah.
Right? I want to know exactly what it does. And then when you're done explaining that, I have a few questions, obviously, but I want to get into Let's Plant Meat, your current venture.
All right.
So what does Niti Foods do?
Niti Food is a family business that started by my father and my uncle, which is a second business already, another business being like done quite okay in the past 20-something years. Niti Food was started as more like growing up to expand more manufacturing. So Niti Food is starting 1998 after like the Tom Yam Goong crisis.
Oh, wow.
But then that at the time where the food processing is start to become like on the rise because people are having like economic crisis. They eat more cooking at home or instant noodle. That's why the process, spice process, ingredient is on in demand at the time.
Got it. So what was the other business that your family was running before 1998?
So this another company called Cnxp, which is something like in the process agricultural products like chili pepper, ginger, galangal, lemongrass, Thai herbs and spices process for industry.
Okay, so at least in a similar sector or similar vertical, right?
Yes, correct. So Niti Food is just doing something more high volume, something like fried product that we don't do before.
Okay.
Fried garlic, for example.
So was there a lot of pressure on you as a son of one of the founders to come in and sort of change the tenor of the business, or were you meant to just follow the same path and expand? What was that like?
I think it's a journey that you have to fit into the glove of your uncle, because I succeeded my uncle.
Okay.
So one thing is just to maintain the customer, to maintain the capacity, to maintain the business from person who done nothing with the business and have to take control of the rudder, the ship will sail. The new captain comes in, so I had to make sure that we can weather the storm and we can grow and prosper.
Right.
And then at the time, once I know that the boat is not rocking, then I start to bring in the spirits or the knowledge or whatever I learned to the work at Niti Foods. For example, I bring in like industrial engineering to optimize, to shred the waste in the process. I'm bringing the MBA tied up ahead where they implement like HR, finance, or the view of the route of the business strategy. One thing I love about the job being employer is you chart your own map.
Right.
This is something very cool. Now this is your ship. Then where you want to sail, just tell the crew and just sail it. This is the beauty of having this kind of role. And I'm not starting from square one. I'm starting with something where we have customer, we have business. But then the fact that you take the ship and then you want to sail for more like bigger treasure island. This is something where adventure comes in. This is where I really love about being in this.
Yeah, so when I met you a couple of years ago, I don't know how long you'd actually been back in Thailand or been living in Chiang Mai running Niti Foods, but we were participating in an event at Chiang Mai University that focused on startups and innovation.
Yeah.
And at the time you were, building or had built this R&D team inside of Niti Foods, which I thought was really interesting. And then trying to go out to other industrial food producers and say, how can we help you with flavors, taste at scale, help you package, and modernize your processes as well based on the R&D that we've already done. Is that fair?
Right. Yeah. This is the direction that I'm heading. Maybe through that it'll be like startups idea or the business idea that comes along. But the whole process is we want to migrate from the resources that the company of factory manufacturing we benchmark on the head count, how many thousand employee you have,
right.
how many plants you have. And I don't want to be in that kind of position when coming back from the United States. You see that the business not driven by number of people, but number of brains,
right.
number of like intellectual properties.
Yeah.
So I want to shape the company in such a different way where we want to have more scientists working inside the company. We want to have more engineers working in the company, not the operators like picking here, cutting there, peeling. So this is the motive of shaping the company toward more like brain, not the sweat and muscle.
Yeah, you're just moving into a knowledge-based business, right? And was there a cultural problem inside the company? In other words, when you started to implement all these changes, was it easy to do inside? Did people resist, or how did that work?
I think it's about how you articulate your change. Would it benefit them, or would they understand the implication, and would it be joyful, enjoyable through that process? I had to make it fun and make it something interesting.
Yeah.
Not that it's a command from the customer, just do that and then don't ask questions. No, it's just like I want to engage the idea. I want to make it fun through the process. We have no idea too how we're going to go out, and then just doing something one bit at a time, and let's ask the right question and just do the different things.
So where did this idea of let's plant meat come from? I'm presuming, look, it's in the name, right? Let's is a great word, but plant and meat tells me kind of what it is, I think.
So this is the idea where through experience with Niti Food, so we want to have more scientists. So we have many scientists with the company, and have so many scientists. You don't use them all, right? You either like go help other companies, smaller company to do outsourcing of food scientist work, and then I always admiring Google on how they do like 70, 20, and 10, right? 70 for their bread and butter business search, and then 20 something like very far-reaching, and then 10% just to give out to help society shoot the moon and see what happens.
Right.
So I want to implement that in our food science ability. So 70% is our bread and butter, 20% just lump 30%, do something that meaningful. I want to find meaning of work, something challenging, something that really need to pick the brain of food scientists. This is something that I want to do for a long time. We just want to find the right question to answer. Just keep asking questions. One of the questions that we have is Chiang Mai. We got into the haze and smog problem. Every year we have like the burning season when farmers just burn their field to get ready for the next crop season.
Right.
Then we have like AQI, air quality index of 400, 500, which is like really, really bad. More than 100 is bad already. This is 500. Consecutively 3, 4, 5 months in a year that we had to live through that. This is the question: how can we live in such a world without any solution?
Right.
So by asking more questions, why do farmers have to burn such the field, or they get ready to grow the next crop? And what do they grow? Or they growing corn? Growing corn to where? To feed the livestock in the animal operation for what? For meat industry.
Right.
That's I understand. And then I see that where a majority of the crops ends up in the animal processing, meat processing. Secondly, I have also a question to pursue something interesting. So I read so many books, and I read so many books about health and food.
Okay.
And came across the idea on like the whole food plant-based. How can you become like plant version, and then you can live healthy lifestyle. And then through that reading, through that YouTube watching, you come across the word vegan.
Right.
I know what vegan is, but the vegan lifestyle is what. So through that, then I decide one day, hey, I want to be vegan, just to learn. Just want to make sure that when I go to the restaurant, I could not order a thing. How would I feel?
Right.
The kind of challenge I want to put on myself to see the food industry on the lens of the vegan thing. And by combining the factor environmental or like the smog and haze, and then the vegan, so we came across the company called Beyond Meat. They do meat from plants, and this so is exciting. It's so admirable. So wow, this is such a company that mobilized all the science resource to do something that you never imagined it's been done before.
Right.
This is so meaningful. I want to do that. So I come back with a team called the scientists. Hey, I like this idea of making meat out of plants.
Right.
And we are a flavor company. How can we make meat flavor out of plant ingredients? This is something that eventually would help us having more good air to breathe in Chiang Mai. This is something that I think as a vegan to want to be in Chiang Mai. So I've seen why the restaurant don't want to carry such a product because they couldn't sell and nobody wants it, and it's going to make profit for the restaurant. All this idea came in. Okay, we want to pursue plant-based meat, startup, protein inside the company. So what to do?
Right.
This is the founding moment of the Let's Plant Meat.
Okay. And did you pull people out of Niti Foods proper and give them kind of their own entity in which to operate, or is it still part of the main company?
So it's a part of the main company. It's more like skunk work where we want to have like 1 or 2 full-time resources to do that.
I love it.
And with the help of other scientists, because each study has different strong assets, like the flavor,
right.
Someone with the processing. So we need a lot of help inside the company so to incubate the idea to come out.
And what was the reaction from the scientists when you came back and said you had this sort of epiphany idea and said, let's make plant-based meat, right? Was everybody all in, or were they just like, you're crazy, we can't do this?
They don't understand yet, so I have to show them the movie, for example, like the Fork Over Knife, GameChanger,
right.
To kind of excite them. This is the world now. This is something that being so far out, and it's good for your health, good for your customer health, and also good for the society environment that you live in. So this is something where we can combine all good things inside the project. wouldn't be exciting. I think they love the idea.
And how about the other people that have been in the company for a while, right? You said this company's been around since 1998. It's been in a relatively traditional business of, making spices and flavors for existing companies. And now, like you said, now you have the rudder, right? Now you're steering and you say, wait a second, let's go a little bit further this way. Yeah. So what about the people that have been there for a long time? And even maybe your uncle or your aunts and maybe people in the family are like, Smith, are you okay? Is this going to be okay for the company?
This is something where you have to manage the expectation, because when you are business, then you want to make sure that nested egg is being well prepared and well tended and carried.
I love it.
Not that I will shoot out to do, let's time it and then forget to do. I have to maintain this type of environment to groom the next leadership inside the company, to make sure that things will be handled proper. So I will just to make sure that I put my mind and my energy at the point it's needed most. And something about to set expectation. This is the reinvestment of the profits.
Right.
Otherwise, we have to give dividend now. This is something that we feel that could be something that we can do, and the experience, the connection, the ability of Niti Food could be the place where this less plant meat can grow and incubate inside before it can hatch and do something better on themselves.
So many second generation founders, right, are kind of, I won't say afraid, but they're concerned about taking risks, right? Because if they don't expand or on what their elders had already done, there's a ton of pressure on them, right? Family businesses are interesting animals. Do you think that you're comfortable with risk, and do you feel like maybe studying abroad or your experience you had being outside of the country and outside of the family business gives you an edge?
I think that tremendous helps in terms of the language ability. If I were to be speak and read and write and listen to Thai, then I would not get access to the information that being available in the world.
Got it.
The reason that I changed to be vegan because I read books. I'm the big fan of Audible. I have more than 200 books in Audible. I listen fervently all the time just to make sure that I don't want to miss out.
Right.
So I want to know something. I just find book and just read or listen. And that ability to get information, I think the language ability and the worldview when you are in the United States, you see everything happen. Everything can be possible, right? This is something, the inspiration that, hey, you see people walk through the tunnel before. If you want to go to that, it be possible. You just try to make sure that you have such the open-minded, the right inspiration.
Right. I mean, look, I have a different view on this. Well, different perspective, but a similar view. As I mentioned earlier, I've lived outside of my home country for 30 years. So to me, every day I spend just trying to get new information, right? Whether I'm living in Japan for 20-something years or living in Thailand for 9 years, every day for me brings a new experience, right? That I don't take for granted. I'm always trying to figure out how this new information that I'm getting fits into my entire worldview. And like you said, I'm constantly listening, and I do in reverse. I'm constantly asking, right?
Yeah. You are the program with meeting with interesting people all the
time. And part of the reason why I do it is because I get to learn something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you to me are like a living book and a living piece of information, and all of your embedded experiences, to me and also to the listeners, should be fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I think. So, what is the status today of Let's Plant Meat, and how long have you been actually doing it? And can you run me through that process of idea into science, into product, into distribution, and into sales, yeah?
Sure. The idea came from when my son was 1 year old.
Okay.
So my son is 3.5. So I become vegetarian vegan for 2.5 years old.
Oh, wow.
And then through that inspiration, I want to live vegan to see. There's one word, say, if you want to innovate, you have to live inside that system to be that.
Yeah.
Just to feel the sense, I think I have done that. And then the ability to have the resources that you can pick and use, and then I pick few scientists inside the team and just start run with it. And they are just great scientists. They read so many papers on proteins, plant proteins, and how would it become, what is the difference between animal protein, animal muscle.
Right.
We get all those information and try to start doing something about it, try to fit pegs and holes and baskets and everything jumbled together just to find out. And one day we got prototypes. The the notebook of her name is Fatin. She's a lead scientist on that. He said, "Oh, Mr. Smith, the first day that you tasked me is the 3rd of March of 2019.
Okay.
And 3rd of March 2020, we have our product inside supermarket. This is so exciting.
That's amazing.
So within about like 15 or about 12 months that we do right now. So I think it is the vortex. You are inside the tornado. You have no idea of what's going on. So we have prototypes, and then we have to grow the idea, whether it's inside the company or whether go outside, spin it off. And one of the program that giving the lights of startup, if we participate through the program called Space F,
okay,
which is the food technology incubator and accelerator in Thailand. So we are part of 22 teams inside that Space F, and that from like the National Innovation Agency of Thailand, and then Mahidol University and Thai Union, which is a global company in the frozen shrimp and tuna. They just have like the real VC come in to talk to you, and then just come and mentor you and ask the tough question on you.
Right.
And seeing the peers team that doing the progress, you don't want to sit around and wait things to happen. You want to also propel ourselves to do that. I think the peer pressure, the mentorship and things just shape us to make us like go fast forward through the program. Plus, I have the contacts with science advisor that we have through Niti Food, or the distributor or contact company that we know through Niti Food. This is the contact network that can start forming the idea or the ability around who to sell the product to, where to sell it at, where to manufacture, how can we get the ingredient, where we should start locating the R&D. This is the fact that I just bring on so many experience from Niti Food and just put toward the use of less plant meat.
And how has it been? So now that it's been in the stores for a while, how's it going?
Since store in about 2-3 months, I think been incredible. So the first group is the vegan and vegetarian in Thailand. Right. So we start posting one week in supermarket called Rimping, which is like the supermarket where the expats like to go, and I like to go too. Hey, we post in the vegan and vegetarian in Chiang Mai Facebook page. Hey, we are now in Rimping. Can you go and get it? So. And they went out and get, and then they cook with it, they take picture with it, and then come out review like glamorously. Oh, your burger is awesome, tastes really good. So thanks for coming out of this thing. This is something that inspires, is a fuel for our effort.
Right.
Or the proof that our product being loved by customers.
The team must feel great, right?
Yeah, I think very excited. I think something like when you do some robot and you send for competition and your robot won something. This is the feeling. The feeling is approved by consumer. The fact that the product being listed in supermarket is exciting already. And then the product being bought and reviewed and loved and shared back through our Facebook page. This is something of the inspiration that we live through.
I want to ask you one more thing before I let you go.
Yeah.
When you look at the Thailand startup ecosystem, from your home now in Chiang Mai, and you've been working with an accelerator. We know you did some stuff with Chiang Mai University. You participated in that program as well. What do you think is going to change the game in Thailand to make the startup ecosystem better?
I think the fact that we have to bridge the people from international mindset and the local network. I think like the total expat would not be able to bring in like the connection and things to run Thailand as easily. This is like you said, is the asset that I have by being in the United States, by being contacts in the food industry for some time. I think by constantly innovating, constantly type up your business, like changing a little bit and ask the right question, and have the right mentor or the right people who can lift you up from the ground and shake you up and then start running. And not that you are too high or too successful to start something meaningful. I think what drives less plant meat or drive this plant-based meat is the meaning of the work. I think startup now is more like I want to be Mark Zuckerberg, I want to be Google. Driven by the profit or the money motive, would not last very long.
Not really.
But if you find passion, this is something like of the cliche. Find passion, something that you mean, and find that, and you give it out fully. I think the problem of startup is, hey, we see that been done in the United States. We'd like to do that in here.
Right.
How long would you suffer through failure and mistakes and like money running out?
Right.
Finding the right passion, giving the broad mindset, talking to more people, reading more books, watch more YouTubes will help. I think now we can connect our world together. I think just it's about the mindset inside it will change or not. Would you find the meaning and you just go out and do it?
Okay, I think that's a great way to end. I really want to thank you, Smith Taweelerdniti, the Chief Executive Officer of Let's Plant Meat. This was really awesome, and I also want to thank you for what I consider to be the single best background of you of any recording I've ever done.
Oh,
it's beautiful in the background, and the chickens walking around was perfect. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks so much, and then nice to be in your program.